So, folks, the idea of this presentation came uh, with the thought process that there are new extension agents that's joined time to time, and then they may not have uh, an understanding of how the BMP, Ag BMP mini grant applications work, and what are the key components that are important while you're considering applying for the grant, um, along with what are the projects that has higher merit than the others. So I'm using an example to give you an overview how the best writing or component of the mini grant could impact your success rate. So section that are very high value in your mini grant are situation where you have to provide a rationale why you're writing this project. And I'll give you an example in the next slide. That obviously you will define the objectives of your project. And also when you're writing that, since you're an extension agent, you want to include an extension activity to that project because that not only improve your project impact, but also helps your extension package and your extension profile. Then the impact, so project that you are writing that has a situation and a rationale must have some an impact, which you can discuss with your peers, your administrators, your mentors, and the specialists that should be involved in those projects. So an extension agent and a specialist are the key component of your project, and then you can discuss all your project activities and objectives and the rationale with your specialist that you are very comfortable to work with. And then the top, once you have all that work together, obviously the ag producer that will be involved where you want to put your trials is an important component as well. So here's an example. You probably see some of the slides that I'm going to present that already presented by Dr. Sudeep Sidhu. But I found that's the best case scenario to present, where this project was funded consecutively for 2 years, and this project has a huge impact. So Cone Advisory Committee, this committee was originally constituted by our extension agent at Live Oak, Dee Broughton. She asked me and some of the growers to work together. So she built up this committee, and where the committee and was able to communicate their preferences, how the trials could be conducted that will be applicable on their farm. So I was presenting all the methodology, and they helped me to tweak it to make it as close as possible that their practices could be mimicked on the small plot research. Along with, they also requested that these higher rates of those of this nitrogen rich study should be replicated on their farm, and they happily donated maybe a section or the whole pivot to the extension agent to conduct this on-farm demo trials. So why this study? And I think Sudeep already mentioned that the study considered the nitrogen rate recommendation to be updated because they are pretty old. The reasons for that is the varieties that we are considering are new. There are new management practices that are that are being followed by the farmers. For example, soil moisture sensors and some other fertilizer blends, and obviously the environmental concern that the nitrate leaching is a huge issue that goes to our water bodies. Objective, so basic objective is to update the recommendation, but also help understand growers how the rates, different rates could impact the yield and overall biomass. and how their farm practices are mimicking on the nitrogen small plot research at the station. And you saw in Sudeep's presentation that the farmer that has higher number of splits had a better results versus a small number of splits. So the future steps are publications, and we also gonna use this mini grant, Ag BMP mini grant project results that will be presented to the PNOC, although they won't be published because they are replicated, but they'll be shown to the PNOC for learning another aspect of commercial farming. So the small plot research was done on the station. There was site 1 across 3 years. This is site 2 across 3 years. The sampling techniques were followed every 20 days for soil and plant sampling, and 3 depths were followed, and these were also followed on the on-farm trials. So results, these are the results from small plot research, and you can see that 280 and 350 pounds of nitrogen did not yield significant results. And this is a small plot research. The x-axis is the nitrogen rates, and the y-axis is the yield, which is in bushels per acre. And this is a complete data from 4 years, 4 site years at the station. So this is the data you already seen. This is the on-farm demo trials that funded from the Ag BMP grant. So all the components in this kind of a project were covered. So a specialist like me was involved. The project is on the farmer field, and this was an extension agent that was leading it, and there was a rationale, which is a problem where the nitrogen rates in Florida are pretty old. So there's a very solid rationale for this project to be conducted. So all the key components are covered in this project. So that's what I'm giving you an example. What are the strong points when you're writing your mini grant? And this is year 2. In year 2, you can see that the data here is not important. The important part here is that the farmers were highly encouraged and involved. As a specialist, I was leading the small plot research, and the extension agent was leading on-farm demo trials. So it's a win-win situation for both of us. And also, since it was on-farm demo, so the growers are learning a lot when they are seeing the results. So one of the key learning from one grower was that his number of splits were very low compared to the other growers. So it's a peer-to-peer learning, plus they also learning from small plot research. You can see the results from these farms, the biomass from one farm versus the other farm. And it's a huge difference. And the basic difference between the two was number of splits. On farm, the number of splits were between 4 to 5. However, farm 2, the number of splits were more than 10. Biomass uptake pretty much same, followed as the farm number 2 in my previous slide. Followed 280 and 350 as the same biomass, and similar results were observed on a nitrogen rate study at the station. So I spoke to a farmer and I asked him, you have the results in front of you, and if you would like to reduce the nitrogen rate, what would be the rate you're gonna reduce? And he said, well, I know that I'm applying. He didn't share the number he used to apply, but he said he's gonna apply something between 30 to 35 pounds less a nitrogen compared to his previous years after seeing all this data. So there's a huge saving, although it's not these are the acres he gave it to me. He may be considering more pivots to follow this reduction, but this is the impact that you're gonna show in your reports as well as in your application, grant application, that something like that will be presented or could be expected in the project. This is anticipation of your project, but that's what the reviewer is gonna look into. Extension activities. So there was a huge extension activity that was done at the station and on the farm. The farmers that were involved in the project, they were very keen to visit the on-farm on station trial, small plot research trials, and they were seeing similar results on their farm. So it is a very integrated project where farmers were highly involved. And similarly, the same data was presented at the BMP summit for the growers and for some other agents. So the take-home message for writing a grant is discuss your project with a producer and a specialist. Maybe you can meet with the producer and a specialist multiple times so that your project has a strong objective and hypothesis, and you have a good rationale to write the project. Build your relationship with both producer and specialist, because specialist is not only going to help you analysis, but there are many other ways that you can work with a specialist to write extension publications. Envision the impact. If I would be an extension agent, I will look into it. If this project is going to be successful, how much impact it's going to produce, and I'm going to look into that and present in the application, grant application. And the most important, when you are considering a producer, make sure there is anonymity. Do not write any farmer names in any data points wherever you're presenting. Not even in-house presentations. That will give a good confidence to your producer to be part of your project. So I think that those are some of the points I think are good take-home messages when you're writing your Ag BMP mini grant. With that, I think I'm done with the presentation.